Hi everyone, my name is Kathleen O'Hare, and I am a junior here at Iowa State University studying animal science with a minor in leadership studies. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and today I am going to talk to you about inclusive language in a diverse society. So, with that, we're going to go on to the next slide and give you an overview of what inclusive language is and gender specific inclusive language. Today, I'm going to focus on gender inclusive language because I think it's a great foundation to have as you're looking to use inclusive language, and inclusive language as a whole is a lot to cover in a short course that's 8 to 10 minutes long. With that, as you can see, gender inclusivity is becoming more and more important. And what I mean by inclusive language is that you're communicating in a way that does not involve words that imply prejudices, stereotypes, or any discrimination. It also includes and recognizes people and how they may or may not identify and be different or the same as you and other people. And with that, it is more important now than ever in the business world as technology is connecting the world more and more. You're interacting with so many different people, and it's just dangerous to make assumptions on how they may or may not identify. So, by being inclusive and gender neutral, you can save yourself a lot and improve your leadership and people skills personally and professionally. So, a study that I found was from Sweden, and these professors took two different German speaking groups made up of both men and women on each sides, and they gave them some reading material from a pharmaceutical company that had instructions about a drug. And in those instructions, they used either just normal masculine focused kind of people, so like a male doctor or he or his and like your. So on the other side of the group, they did a one that listed out different ways that that doctor or you could identify. And what happened was female participants tended to pick up more on the presence of having that gender inclusive and language as a whole, whereas male participants if it was present, they didn't really notice it. And with that, the women were able to take that as an example and were able to easily say, I can apply that in my everyday life, and that's something I want and should be doing. Whereas the men were also able to do that, it just had to be brought to their attention because they didn't notice it as much. Then next, I would go over some examples of controversy that is going on every day and kind of my personal experiences as well. And so we have that prescription instruction sheet like that we went over before with the study, but another common thing is in religion, God or the divine is often a masculine figure, and a lot of people are calling that into question. And why does it have to be like that? Or how does that make women or non binary or people that identify different than that? How does that make them feel? And in addition, in educational institutions, they're also trying to go away from the freshman term for first year students and move into first, second, third, and fourth years. And then there's also rules in language. A lot of languages revert to the masculine way to refer to people, whether it's one man to a room of 500 women or if it's 500 men, same difference. And then also a common thing is you guys, which I will get into a little bit later, that terminology when referring to people. So those all come from impact biases. It comes from things in places you've been and your experiences, how you might have been brought up, where you might have been brought up, and that type of environment or thought process. So this is a great time. It's always a great time to question why are you the way you are, and should you change? Should you stay the same? What um, is the importance of that in your everyday professional life and things like that. So it's a great thing to be conscious of. And then back to that you guys experience, I am currently trying to break myself of that habit, and I think I might have said you guys in the beginning of this presentation. So I apologize. I just have been trying to say you all, folks, people, things like that, because when referring to women, they're not guys. It's just been a common norm in our society, and it doesn't include everybody, and it doesn't welcome or recognize everybody for who they are and their differences and what they bring to the table. So working on that. And then with that, I also kind of provided in the slides the genderbread person, which helps kind of introduce you to different topics on how somebody may feel or their biology, who they're attracted to, who they're not attracted to, and it can be a little bit complicated, but I will note that this is a great introductory to the concept, but it still itself is not 100% inclusive. It doesn't cover absolutely everything when it comes to identities and including them and understanding them. And another thing I have here is just an example of inclusive language as a whole, more than just gender or identity. And it just shows like how much words can hurt somebody, and you may never know that you've hurt a person because chances are they might not approach you about it. And just by being practicing of inclusive language, you can help avoid some of those setbacks in relationships when you're trying to connect with people. I just wanted to connect things back to our class concepts, and I think the textbook that did cover like a broad thing. So leadership as a whole, I think if you're in this class or at Iowa State, you're going to practice leadership at some point in your life, and you're probably practicing leadership right now. So understanding culture in the workplace and that you have a way and a part in developing that and bringing that to life. So a common goal of the university, companies you may be working for in the future is diversity and inclusion. Those are goals and things that companies have set that you have to help them reach. And then also in speeches, so you want to build goodwill with the audiences and resonate and really touch them. So you could really set the example as a leader and a speaker by covering things as simple as pronouns, but being genuine in that effort. And then also another note I wanted to make is the advantages of differences that we have, and it's more than just smoothing over differences and finding common ground like we have for so many years. You should go beyond that and recognize those differences, learn to appreciate them, seek to understand, and really get to know people for who they are and things like that. That can really make them feel included and welcomed. So I will also say that I felt like the textbook did a good job of kind of covering the subjects throughout the book, but it didn't actually dive into this concept. I felt like it was consistent with things that I was reading and finding, but it just didn't go into depth. And it also felt like it was just a little bit outdated on what's going on and new research and findings and theories and philosophies. So, in conclusion, I would just say learn to appreciate others. Don't shut it out right away if somebody's different than you or somebody may express themselves differently. Try to understand them and reflect on how you're feeling and how the other person might be feeling, and after an encounter or an experience, whether it be positive or negative, how you're going to grow or change from that point. And practice just makes perfect. So practicing how you might identify your pronouns and things like that. So, but just being authentic and genuine in those intentions and having good intentions in general is really important in this journey. So I would also look in front of you. There should be a handout, and it's a little sticker that talks about changing words and changing the world and how you can make a difference. So by putting this maybe on the back of your laptop, you can identify as somebody who wants to have a conversation about this and share what they know and lead by example and make others feel welcome who are generally victims or don't feel like they're well represented and things like that. So next, I also have this table, and as you can see, it's got all the countries in the world, and the United States is not number one. We have a lot of room to improve, so you can be that change. Japan is all the way up there in the high 80s, and we are down here in the middle towards the lower scores compared to other countries, especially neighboring countries like Mexico. And I just think this goes to show as a global perspective that you're going to come across other people that might have a better gauge for this concept and that you can kind of work to catch up to them. So with that, just wanted to say thanks so much for following along and listening today. It's been a pleasure to cover these topics, and don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. Thank you.